One of the stranger incidents in the Bible comes in Acts chapter 1. It's called the Ascension. Jesus led a group of his disciples, both the apostles and some female disciples, his brothers now who believe in him. He takes them to the Mount of Olives. You can go there today. There's a little chapel on the very top of the Mount of Olives. It was a Christian church in the Middle Ages. Those broken down walls now have inside them a little Muslim chapel. They too saw Jesus as a prophet. They too believed in his ascension. And it's a chapel memorializing the place where this event took place, the ascension of Jesus. And while they're standing there, Acts chapter 1, verse 9 describes the scene as pretty vivid detail. It said, when he said these things, as they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him out of their sight. I'm just wondering what that looked like. Maybe Thaddeus or Bartholomew was saying, does Jesus look taller to you? And his feet are off the ground, and he begins to rise, and he just keeps going up while he's talking until finally a cloud hid him from their sight. And the angels standing around, nobody even notices the angels, which is weird because angels are like noticeable. Normally they say, do not be afraid. But now they're saying, hey guys, over here, hello. You got to quit staring into the skies. You got to get about your business of making Jesus famous. So it's an interesting story. And I got to tell you, if I were not a Christian, this would be one of the first stories that I denied because it sounds mythological. After all, Hercules had his own ascension. I don't believe that. Buddha, Muhammad, it says that they ascended. I don't believe either one of those either. Now, maybe they're true, but I don't believe it. Jesus, I believe. Why? Because there's a qualitative difference in how the story is told by the historian Luke. And I'm not going to get into that right now. You can read those details and the defense of the historicity of the Ascension in the Core 52 essay. What I want to focus on right now is the purpose of the Ascension, because it matters to you and it matters to me today. It's easy for the Ascension to get lost in the details of the massive importance of the crucifixion and the massive importance of the foundational event of the resurrection. But the Ascension, in many ways, is just as significant to you and me, to our faith and our practice of Christianity. And I want to highlight three things. Number one, Jesus is enthroned. In this moment, he becomes king. Now, I know that he was king before, but he wasn't enthroned visibly like this. And here's why. He hadn't perfectly obeyed the Father or completely obeyed the Father by humbling himself. And one of the slogans of the Bible is, when you humble yourself, God will exalt you. There's never been a clearer example of that, a more radical example of Jesus humbling himself in the humblest of births, laid in a manger, the humblest of death, pinned to a cross, and now the highest exaltation because of the lowest humiliation. And that is a story that you and I can latch onto. As we humble ourselves on our own service, in our own way, God will exalt us to the extent that we obey him in humbling ourselves as he has called us to. The second purpose of the resurrection is that Jesus right now is sitting next to the Father. That's repeated in almost every book of the New Testament. What's he doing sitting down on the job? Well, that is his job, to sit next to the Father. And when you and I sin, he is our advocate defending us before the Father. Since he's on the right side, it might look something like this. Hey, Dad, do you see that sin down there? Do you see that scar right here? Let's call it even. And the Father will always say, done deal. That's important. Third thing I want to mention is, because Jesus ascended, we're no longer focused on him as a group of disciples. When he was on earth, he was at one place at one time with one group of people. But because he is out of the way, the Holy Spirit can have his way with us, leading, guiding, convicting. All the lessons we learned in the previous chapter of Core 52 now come into play, Because Jesus is with the Father, the Holy Spirit can be the core advocate with us here, guiding, coaching, rebuking, leading, moving the church in the direction of all of the world to make Jesus famous. All of that matters right now. I would say Jesus being exalted, enthroned, Him being our defense attorney, and the Holy Spirit being our coach and guide. All in all, that's a pretty good day.